president this week named Ignatius Bafwewa as the minister nominee for the Employment and Labor Relations. The Labor Front, over the last 2 years, has seen a series of strikes by various labor groups. But what do these labor groups expect from the incoming nominee for Employment and Labor Relations? TV3's Daniel Opoku has been interacting with the leadership of Labor and has joined us to let us know what exactly their thoughts and expectations are. So, Daniel, what have they been telling you?
His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has appointed Ignatius Bafwewa as the Minister for Employment and Labor Relations. And initially, some names including the former Minister of Information came up, and there were a lot of issues as to he was taken to be the Minister for Employment and Labor Relations. Now, currently, we have with the Executive Secretary of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association to discuss what they would expect the new Minister of Employment, Ignatius Bafwewa, who has been appointed, which key issues for him to look at. Good afternoon, Mr. Asiedu-Dartey.
Good afternoon.
Now, the appointment of Mr. Ignatius Bafwewa, is it surprising to you?
Well, not so surprising. We at CLOSAG, we've been monitoring his contributions on the floor of Parliament relating to labor issues. And he's been very knowledgeable, and we think it's a very good pick made by the President. And we can assure him that should he be accepted by Parliament, we're going to collaborate and work with him.
Right. Now, from the perspective of labor, which issues would you want him to look at? You know, you have issues on the single-span pay policy, outstanding issues on pension. Which particular issues would you want him to look at?
Well, there are a lot of issues that workers are agitating about. First and foremost is the pension. We want him to look at the pension, and we all are aware that the Minister for Employment is also the Minister for Pension. And more importantly, SNIT, under the Pension Act, is also supposed to be controlled by MPRA, which is also under the Ministry of Employment. And we want to make sure that SNIT applies its work according to the Pension Act. It is not the Minister for Finance who should be controlling SNIT. It should be the Employment Minister. This is one of the issues that will ensure that SNIT complies with. Also, we have the single spine pay policy. We all are aware that it does not work as it was supposed to work, and we want to believe that the minister will look at it. We have to take a second look at the single spine pay policy, and then I think we have to change it.
Now, when you say a second look of the single spine pay policy, what exactly do you mean? Is it the problems associated with the implementation of the spine? Because we know a grievance committee has been set up to deal with the grievances on the single spine pay policy.
I have to sit down here. There are a lot of issues relating to the single spine pay policy. Number one, even the salary structure that is being used as of now is a distorted salary structure. These issues must be looked at. The biggest problem with the Fair Wage and Salaries Commission is they forming the joint standing joint negotiating team for public workers. It is not according to law. It is that committee that was formed is against the labor laws of this country.
Why are you saying that, though?
Yeah, because you have people there who don't have collective bargaining certificates, and our collective bargaining certificate should be respected. So we want the incoming government or the incoming minister to correct these anomalies. Also, we don't see why the Fair Wage and Salaries Commission should be applying a separate salary structure for its workers over there, whilst they give a different one to public servants. It's wrong. Once they are responsible for the salary structure, it should also apply to them. But they cannot have a separate structure. The government-wide paper on the single spine must be adhered to, or else there will be confusion. You agree with me? Getting to the latter part of the previous government, almost all public servants, unions, were on strike. Yeah. Why? It's a clear indication that the single spine pay policy has not worked. The so-called joint negotiating committee has not worked.
Can we therefore judge by saying that the incoming minister should expect a lot of strikes at the labor front with regard to the problems on the implementation of this plan?
We would expect him to look at these issues and get them solved, or else there will be problems.
Problems mean what? Because if he doesn't attend to them quickly.
No, there will be labor unrest because the fair salaries that we were expected to have is now unfair. You know, it's distorted. It's not fair any longer. You see, so we want fairness in the salary regime.
Now, Doc, is it possible that the Minister of Employment should also look at restructuring the minimum wage to reflect living wage?
Well, these are issues that are with the National Tripartite Committee. I think these are issues that will also be looked at. Yeah, because currently, as we speak, our base pay is below the minimum wage, and this is wrong. And this is one issue that we'll be raising with the minister for him to look at. The base pay is supposed to be at least the minimum of the minimum or above the minimum wage, and this must be applied.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isaac Bampuado. We speak with the Executive Secretary of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Mr. Isaac Bampuado for the perspective of their association or union with regard to the new minister who has been appointed by His Excellency President Akufo-Addo as the Minister for Employment and Labor Relations. Over to you in the studios.